Hi, I'm Jed.
I'm Dania.
And I'm Carly.
And welcome to Untitled, the Jackson District Library podcast where we talk about all things books, movies, games, and other media, plus some library-ish things too.
Today we'll be talking to Sara Tackett, the director of the Jackson District Library. Sara will chat with us about the book This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub, but we are also going to get an exclusive interview with her about her retirement. Join us for a deep dive into Sara's career and time at JDL.
But before we get started, I want to thank you for checking us out. We really want to connect with you, our community, and help you to find new material to read, watch, and play. We really hope you email us at podcast@myjdl.com and tell us what you think. Ask us a question or just say hey.
Let's start off with our new materials to keep an eye out for in December.
There are some amazing titles coming out in December. As much as we would love to cover all of them, instead we'll highlight a few that we are the most excited for. The first one is Screaming on the Inside by Jessica Groves that comes out December 6th. Expectations are high and everyone has an opinion when it comes to modern American motherhood. The pressure to have it all, do it all, look a certain way, and how one manages one's own home, appearance, relationships, and jobs are constantly under scrutiny. This nonfiction is a personal examination of American motherhood culture and what can be done to make a healthier future. That sounds really exciting. I think that's going to resonate with a lot of readers.
Up next we have The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks Dalton. This is also going to be released on December 6th. It says, nature reflects individual and family dynamics in this emotionally charged, delicately written novel about identity and family in an uncertain future facing climate change. Beautiful and dystopic at the same time, this novel explores the end of the world as we know it, with a glimpse into a possible future. Well, this one sounds really interesting. I like the hybrid of bringing in a pirate mixed with climate change. It's kind of an interesting combo. It reminds me of Waterworld. Anyone's seen that? But I assume this is probably going to be a lot better.
I mean, Waterworld is a masterpiece. You can't change my mind.
To some folks, yes.
No, that does sound really interesting. And I think, like the first one, even though this one's a fiction and it's a fictional story, it sounds like a near future sci-fi, speculative fiction kind of thing. It still sounds like it's speaking to something that's on a lot of people's minds right now.
Yeah, both seem to be deeply rooted in important themes, whether it's climate change or motherhood.
On December 13th, a book is coming out called A Million to One by Adiba Jagirder. This is the Titanic, but it's a heist. Described as Titanic meets Ocean's 8, a group of young women with unique skills come together to steal the Rubaiyat, a book encrusted with gems and worth millions. High stakes, low odds, and a deadline make this a young adult adventure I'm really looking forward to.
Okay, that sounds like a really fun young adult book. I definitely have to put this on my holds list.
Yeah, me too.
The last book we'd like to discuss is All the Dark Places by Terry Parlato. This is coming out on December 27th. This is a locked room mystery where nothing is as it seems, and the people you thought you knew hide deadly secrets. In a small Massachusetts town, Molly Bradley's friends gather to celebrate her husband Jay's 40th birthday. In the morning, Molly discovers Jay brutally murdered in his study. Boston detective Rita Myers is convinced Jay was murdered by one of the party's attendees. Now Molly is questioning everything she knew about her friends and her husband. Okay, I love a good whodunit. Mm-hmm. Big Agatha Christie fan. This sounds right up your alley if you're also into that.
And I really like to read seasonally, and something about a whodunit, locked room, kind of a twisty mystery just sounds so good for these cooler, darker nights where you can curl up with some tea and read a good mystery.
Oh yeah, that sounds fantastic for the season. We do have a couple of honorable mentions we'd like to bring up real quick. We've got The Key to My Heart by Leah Louise, The Poison Season by Mara Rutherford, and The Last Invitation by Darby Kane. These are also all coming out during the month of December.
There are also some amazing movies and TV shows coming out that will definitely keep you busy during your holiday breaks. So it looks like December 6th is the day that everything's coming out in the month of December. So that's the same for print and for movies. On December 6th, The 4th season of Star Trek Discovery is coming out. That stars Doug Jones, Sequoia Martin Green. If you're not familiar with Star Trek very much, it is a series that takes place in the decade or so, roughly before the very first Star Trek series that people are familiar with. So the description says, 10 years before Kirk, Spock, and the Enterprise, the USS Discovery discovers new worlds and life forms as one Starfleet officer learns to understand all things alien. So this is the 4th season. If you haven't started watching Discovery yet, I highly recommend it. Star Trek is always an amazing time.
Up next, we have a film called Amsterdam. This is also being released on December 6th. This is a new David O. Russell film. He did Silver Linings Playbook. This film stars Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, Anya Taylor-Joy, Rami Malek, Zoe Saldana, Robert De Niro, Chris Rock, Mike Myers, Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant. That's right, a stacked cast.
I love everything about that cast.
It is a pretty insane ensemble. This is a rated R film. It's set in the 1930s. It features 3 friends who witness a murder. They're framed for it and uncover one of the most outrageous plots in American history. So this is a neat film. It's kind of rooted in historical fact, but brought into like a fun fictional film.
I love it when storytellers use an actual event or an actual person to create a fiction story around. On December 13th, The Woman King is coming out on DVD. This stars Viola Davis, Thuzo Mbedu, and John Boyega. This is a historical drama. It's rated PG-13, and it's also based around an actual time period and an actual event. So the description says, a historical epic inspired by true events that took place in the Kingdom of Dahomey, one of the most powerful states of Africa in the 18th and 19th centuries.
This one's really interesting. I've heard lots of chatter about it online. It looks like it'll be a very powerful story. I'm really interested in seeing how they bring in the history of the Dahomey culture, their impact and their part of the slave trade during that time, and the culture that they have that was for and against that. I think it's a really rich playground for storytelling. Up next, we have Better Call Saul Season 6. This is coming out on December 6th. This is the finale, the last season for the Better Call Saul series, which is a spinoff of Breaking Bad. It's really enjoyable, rooted into character development and growth. If you like that universe, this is a fantastic watch. Really well written and well acted. Of course, it stars Bob Odenkirk and Giancarlo Esposito. This is about the trials and tribulations of criminal lawyer Jimmy McGill in the years leading up to his fateful run-in with Walter White and Jesse Pinkman.
For the season finale, I know a lot of people are going to be really interested, so get your hold placed on this. I'm sure that the holds list is going to be really long.
All month long at East, we have been seeing Better Call Saul going out constantly and people starting to place hold on that. So if you're interested in getting the season, just like Harley said here, you would want to get on that holds list now.
All right, and last but not least, on December 13th is a movie coming out called Slash Back. This is starring Tatiana Shirley and Alexis Wolff. This is described as a horror, science fiction, action, thriller kind of a movie. When Mega and her ragtag friends discover an alien invasion in their tiny Arctic hamlet, it's up to them to save the day. Utilizing their makeshift weapons and horror movie knowledge, the aliens realize you don't mess with girls from Pong. So this is an Inuit story about a bunch of teenage girls who are obsessed with horror movies and horror stories, and then their town goes through an alien invasion, and they have to use their knowledge of sci-fi and horror to actually fight off the aliens. It sounds so good.
Yeah, this sounds really, really fun. I'm definitely jumping on the holds list for that one.
Absolutely.
This sounds like a blast.
Then I saw on Rotten Tomatoes, somebody had described it as a direct descendant of The Thing, but it still manages to carve out its own niche in the genre, which is, I think, is great praise for something.
It's like The Thing meets like Goonies or E.T. or something.
Yeah.
It sounds really fun. There are so many great movies to talk about that we can't get to all of them. Be sure to check out more titles like Clerks 3, Medieval, and Operation Seawolf by visiting our website. If you want to continue the conversation about books and other media over the holidays, reach out to your nearest branch and ask about the closest book club. There are several library-sponsored book clubs throughout the county that are bound to fit your schedule.
Sadly, we aren't able to touch on every new thing that will be coming to our shelves, so be sure to keep an eye on the new shelves at your branch. But while you wait for those new releases, let's hear some JDL picks from our staff that you can get your hands on right now.
Our first staff pick today comes from Erin from our Eastern branch. Erin chose Legendborn by Tracy Dion. Bree Matthews has just been accepted into an early college program at the same college her recently deceased mother attended. On just her first night at her new school, she starts to see fantastical things and quickly becomes involved with a secret society. This inclusive reimagining of King Arthur intertwined with voodoo would be great for someone looking for a thoughtful, well-developed fantasy universe with a strong female lead. I really like that description.
Yeah, and I know that several of the staff at Jackson District Library have been reading this book. It's been making the rounds. People are recommending it to each other. So I definitely want to jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, if you're ever looking for a good title, pay attention to what your librarians are kind of excited about and passing along to each other.
That's excellent advice. All right, we also have a staff pick from Anne. She is our community services representative. She says, I'm on a podcast binge currently with What Was That Like? The tagline for the show is Real People in Unreal Situations. Ever wonder what it would be like to drive the Wienermobile? Or about the life of a professional bridesmaid? Or what it's like to be buried in an avalanche? Or have your arm torn off? Host Scott Johnson is the perfect person to bring these interviews with real people to life. I pretty much only read nonfiction, so this podcast is right up my alley. If you ever get a chance, give it a listen.
I'm always happy to take podcast recommendations, and that sounds like a really interesting and fun one to add to my list.
It really does.
Looking for some material suggestions but want something more specific to you? Head to our website at myjdl.com and select the JDL Picks option under the Explore header at the top of the page. That will take you to a form where you can fill out all the specifics you're looking for. Within a few days, one of our staff members will email you with a list of materials they've selected based on what you asked for.
You can also ask that they place these as holds on your hold shelf, so it's like a surprise every time you go into your branch.
Next, we're going to highlight some of the events going on at JDL during the month of December. So the first two events we're going to talk about are actually going to be at the tail end of November here, but they're really fun, exciting ones, so we wanted to make sure we got them into this podcast. The first one is the Henrietta Holiday Open House with reindeer, and the Grass Lake Reindeer Rendezvous at the Depot. That's right downtown in Grass Lake. These are both going to be on November 29th, starting from 3:30 to 7 o'clock. Join us as we ring in the holiday season at the Henrietta branch. There will be reindeer from Rooftop Reindeer Farms, hot cocoa, cookies, crafts, and a winter silent auction at the Henrietta branch from 3:30 until 5 o'clock. Then, beginning at 5:30 in Grass Lake, join us at the Whistle Stop Depot to enjoy crafts, drink hot cocoa, write a letter to Santa, and of course, pet some reindeer. If you haven't been out to any of our reindeer programs before, they're amazing. They're lots of fun. Bring the whole family out, and seeing a reindeer up close and getting to pet them is a great experience, so we hope to see you there.
Absolutely. And speaking of holiday open houses, there are several holiday open houses happening across the district. So be sure to stop through your local branch or visit our events calendar to find the one that fits your schedule. Up next, we have Larry Martin Presents World War II in Their Own Words. This is happening December 7th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Carnegie Branch. Honor National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day with a special presentation as part of Larry Martin's World War II in Their Own Words. Larry will be showing an interview with Jackson native Herb Elfring, who survived Pearl Harbor. Afterward, Herb will be available to answer questions from the audience.
These are always really great programs. If you've never been out, if you really want to understand time, context, and experience of another person in Jackson, going through a really interesting and hard time. I mean, they do great presentations, and it's really interesting to hear the things that they've gone through.
The entire World War II in Their Own Words program that he runs is such a phenomenal way to keep that living history in our modern context. It keeps it alive. It keeps people interested in the history.
The last program we want to talk about is Visit Santa at the Eastern Branch. This program is happening on December 20th and will run from 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. Santa will be giving out free books, and there will be a scavenger hunt across the whole branch, and refreshments provided. It should be lots of fun.
For more information on these and many other events happening in your area, check out our website at www.myjdl.com/events.
With us today is Sara Tackett, director of the Jackson District Library. She's here to chat with us about the book This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub. This is a special interview, though, because Sara is retiring in December, and we get to have an exclusive interview with her to discuss her career, her time at JDL, and much more. Sara, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you on today. So we're going to talk about two big things. We're going to talk about the book that you brought today to talk to us about, and then we're going to talk about your retirement. And we've got lots of great questions for you.
Great.
So to get us started, what was the book that you brought today?
I brought This Time Tomorrow by Emma Straub. It was a book that I listened to recently on an audio and really enjoyed, kind of having a perspective of a person who it's got a time travel element to it, where the main character is kind of going back in time. She's going through a time with her father is seriously ill and hospitalized, and so she's in her current life, she's going through that, and she ends up time traveling back to when she was 16, and it focuses around her 16th birthday and where she was and where her father was, and kind of where that led their path to where they were in the present.
So I had watched an interview with Emma Straub to get prepared for this interview with you, and I didn't realize that she was Peter Straub's daughter. And if for anyone who doesn't know, Peter Straub's a famous horror fantasy writer, and he had passed away recently as well. So it kind of blew my mind that this book is way more intimately and personal than I had thought it was, that I had known it was, I should say. So that was really interesting that what's going on in the book is also mirroring her experiences that were happening in real life, and he did pass away recently this fall.
This was the first book of hers I read, and it sounds like this was a very intimate story that kind of paralleled her experiences and what she was going through at the time of her father's illness and eventual passing away. And it sounds like, too, that he was really helpful to her during writing the book, really worked with her to kind of give her feedback on it, and which was probably a very good, good experience for the author to be able to have that opportunity.
Oh, yeah, definitely. To be able to get that experience with her father, and then maybe to answer some of the questions she was seeking to resolve or understand about her relationship with her father through the book and through them working together. I think that's a really interesting experience that definitely not everyone gets to have. And I imagine it was super gratifying.
Yeah, I had read a lot of his books many years ago, so was, very aware of him, and I didn't until I finished this book know that she was his daughter, so hadn't picked up on that or put it together, because I'm a little random in my book selection, and I see a book and I just throw it on a list, and I'm like, when I get to it, I find it and read it, and so it was kind of that, and I didn't put that together until I was reading it. I was like, and then finally I looked, I was like, oh, look at that. She came from a writing family, I'm sure, and to see the differences between the horror genre and then this, which is a time travel, which kind of puts it more in that, science fiction or a magical realism or kind of that kind of genre of books too.
Awesome. So do you feel with this book that she was able to work out these through what you can interpret through the book, and especially the character herself? Do you think that it was as gratifying of a process as that could be?
It seems like it could have been for her. It feels like it probably was. It's interesting that the character kept going back to this time around her 16th birthday. So wanting to, be interesting to talk to her more about why that was so significant.
Oh yeah, why she chose that.
Why that?
Time.
Because, some time travel books will go back to different periods, or they'll progress in some other ones that I've read. So you're kind of moving two storylines forward at the same time, and this one kind of kept coming back and hovering around the same storyline, and it would talk about more about her father too, like what was going on with him at that time when she was 16 too. So they would kind of learn too, like what significance that must have had for both of them.
That's great. So I always love in time travel media when you're able to get a bit of a nostalgia blast, and it sounds like this book offers that as well. The character is turning 40, wakes up, she's 16 again, and the year is 1996, So if you're into any 90s reference, this book seems like the perfect fit for you. How fun was that? Was that a really entertaining part of the book? Was it not very, not discussed, not brought up much, or did that have a through point?
There was, I think, a lot of references and allusions to that. I wasn't 16 then, so so I'm sure other readers would appreciate some of that more than I did, but definitely some of the what was going on in the world sort of stuff, oh yeah, I remember that. And then I think too the significance of for a lot of folks in turning 40 is a big kind of transition. So maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's kind of like the beginning of your adulthood, and then this really significant piece when you hit 40 where you're fully adult, maybe. Maybe those two ages were selected for that reason.
It definitely makes sense to me. That's where, at least it seems to be a point in time where you're going to want to reflect back. So this character, I imagine, is feeling the same thing. They're wanting to reflect back or think about that time in their life. The difference is they wake up and they are in that time, which is really interesting.
So a lot of time travel books take you back to a specific time for a specific reason. I'm wondering, is this about her relationship with her father? Is this about a specific thing that she's working through? Was this something where their relationship was strained for any reason, or is it revisiting a good time? What's the event that keeps her coming back to that moment?
I think part of it is that she was struggling with the relationship with her father at that time, and it could really reflect, where he was at that time, because he was probably about 40 and going through life changes. And I feel like that, he was very distracted, or if that's how he's portrayed, is kind of being really distracted about other things that were going on. So maybe not as focused and connected with a 16-year-old. So I think maybe it was some of that. And then her being 40, kind of here I am, and understanding better where his headspace was at the time.
Self-reflecting on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And coming to terms with the perspective of, an adult versus 16, and her experiences seemingly thinking, oh, he's not there, but then being able to have the perspective, literally, because you're right there again, but with the mindset of a 40-year-old to understand what this person's going through or how they're raising their family.
Right.
Interesting.
How they're reacting.
Awesome. So you said that you listened to this book. How would you rate the audiobook? Did you like the narration? Was it overall a good experience? I've definitely had some audiobooks where I wish I would have just read the book, but I've had the other side of the experience where I'm a diehard only the audiobook for this author because I love the way that they read their books. So how did you feel about this audiobook?
I don't recall if it was the author who narrated, but it was a good narrator.
Okay.
And I too, if the narration's not good, I stop and don't go on. Definitely the narrators make such a difference and are such talented people in the audiobook world. I would, encourage anyone, if it's not working for you, go get the book.
And we do have it on different varieties of media. So if you like print, great, we got it. If you want audiobook, great, we've got it. And it's nice to know that both experiences are equally as satisfying. With this book, it sounds like it's very reflective, and it's coming from a position of middle-aged, reflecting back on your life and about your parents. Do you think that this would be equally satisfying for younger folks reading this book?
I would think maybe if there's someone who was interested in the 90s or, that piece of it, and maybe wanting to know more about that, they would enjoy that piece of it. And I don't know, as far as a perfect age to recommend it for, depends on, of course, where people are and what they're going through. But I think, kind of the general audience is pretty accessible.
That's great. I think with these types of time travel where it is got the emotional core like this book has, I think that that's a universal theme, and whether you're going through it personally or not, you can get perspective at least from it, and it sounds like that's what this book is offering. So how did you feel the pacing of this book was? I know that you did audiobook, which is a different experience, but you can still get a feel for it from there. Did you feel that you enjoyed the pacing? Was it rushed? How did it come across?
I think on audiobook, it took me a minute to understand we were doing time travel, that was part of the how the story was being presented. You don't have the same break that you have in a physical book always with the audio as far as where the story's headed. Once you figure that out, it flowed well.
I had seen a similar review that mentioned, once they hit the first like 50 or 100 pages, then it really hit the ground running, and you're in it and you're turning the page constantly.
I agree with that. It took a minute to get to there.
Do you feel like it was just a slow start, or was that just kind of working on the world building and characters?
Probably a little bit of both.
Gotcha.
But once it got there, yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I want to know what's going to happen and where this is which direction this is headed.
So worth sticking through.
Yeah.
Awesome. There's some books that I think I'll get past that 100-page hump, and then I will get to the good part and I'll enjoy it. And it's not always the case. So it's good to know with this one, keep on reading it. You'll really like it. With this being a time travel book, time travel is always popular in films. Do you think that this would make a great adaptation for films, or better yet, miniseries now, or they're all the rage? So do you think this would make a good jump to the screen?
I think it could make a really good jump to the screen. In both sides of the time travel, there's enough going on that would, could keep people attached and connected with the story, and I could see it presented visually too with I think it took place in New York City, so the busyness of that and into all of the going back and forth would work.
I think New York City in the 90s, this being kind of like a throwback, but with that emotional core, it could make for a really fun and really satisfying personal film. So I would love to see this make the jump to the screen.
I agree.
Yeah, sounds like it'd be great.
All right, Sarah, we're going to wrap things up. And one of the questions I like to ask to finish out our book interviews is there anything that you're currently reading right now, watching, anything that you're excited about in the media world?
I am currently reading a book called Vanishing Edge by Claire Kells. She's a investigator, and it's so far set in a national park, and there's missing people, and I'm really early on in it, but I actually saw the second book that is out in this series, and I thought, oh, I haven't read the first book, so I found the first book to read. So far that one's going well, not too far in yet. I just recently finished David Sedaris's recent book, and that one I really enjoyed. I've always enjoyed his work. It's called The Carnival of Snackery, Diaries from 2003 to 2020. So just very entertaining, fun, poignant, all the things David Sedaris is in his presentations. It was a lot of fun.
Did you go hard copy, or did you go audiobook?
I went audio with this one also, and he's the narrator, so just his voice in all of these stories I've always appreciated that. I've listened to a lot of his work on audio.
My first experience with him was reading a book, and then I found the Santaland Diaries, and then realized, he got started through radio. And then once I started listening to his work, it was a whole other experience. I like to think of him like a comedian. Anyone could deliver a joke, but it takes the right person to deliver it in the right format and hit the right notes. And when he's able to read his own material, it is hilarious stuff.
I agree. I got to see him once do a presentation at one of the library conferences, and it was the highlight of that conference was definitely hearing him and the stories she shared. And there was a couple of them actually in this book. I was like, I remember him telling that story to us.
Oh, that's cool. So you got
that was kind of fun.
A preview almost of sorts.
Yep.
I love that he's always writing. So like you said, it's his diaries from it was 2000, early 2000s to now. So it makes sense that, you'd seen him a while ago, but he's always collecting material and trying out stuff.
And not really realizing how much he travels, because that's a lot of his, within this whole thread of stories, he's traveling a lot. So he's in a lot of different countries. And he also, toward the end of it, 2020, was stuck in a country somewhere in March of 2020 and had to navigate back. And so, you think, that would be easy for everybody. But, it's always a story with him, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man, I haven't got to that story yet, and I'm very excited to get there.
One of the things I love about David Sedaris's audiobooks is that often they'll include one of the essays or chapters will be a live recording from one of his stage shows, which I love listening to his I guess your normal audiobook narration, but getting that live, like with the audience interaction as one of the chapters or essays within those audiobooks is so fun. It's my favorite part of any of his books where they do that.
Those stories feel a bit more intimate too, because you feel like you're right there with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the great thing is if you like either of those, we have those in the system. So if you're interested, you can definitely put those on hold or just go to your local library and check them out. They both sound really enjoyable.
All right, Sarah. So before we let you go, we do have a fun segment that we enjoy doing. It's called 1-star, 5-star reviews. And we were wondering if you'd like to go through some of these reviews with us.
That would be great.
Awesome. Well, I will get started then. My first review is from Emily. This is on Goodreads. She gave the book a 5-star, and she says, "The rare novel that leaves you torn between feverishly turning pages and setting it down so you can call the people that you love."
Oh,
I like that. Yep. Speaks to the tone of the book and the
absolutely.
intent. Yep.
All right. I've got a 1-star review. This is from M. Teresa Burlew on Amazon. Her title of her review is "I Feel Duped." This book is incoherent. I believe that the author had a good idea for a minute, but then let a bunch of stuff get in the way of a time travel story. I wanted to love this book, but I found myself reading paragraphs several times in order to grasp what was going on and ended up more confused, if that is possible. There was not one character that I liked except for the cat, Ursula, who lived to be more than 24 years old. Give me a break. The book is terrible. If only I had the opportunity to time travel, I would go back to the minutes before I pressed buy now and avoid this purchase. It's brutal.
I will say cats can live pretty long, so theoretically this is possible.
Well, I have a 5-star from Heidi. What an unexpected and incredible book. A truly beautiful and touching portrayal of a daughter's love. Every single character is well developed and brings something to the story. However, Emma Straub's vivid description of New York in both time frame captured by the city's essence brought back many nostalgic memories.
I really like that. It speaks to a couple of notes that I've heard through other reviews, which is they really loved the time and place, the world building, not just for the 90s nostalgia, but specifically that era of New York and how this book does a really good job at fleshing that out, talking about specific shops, what have you. It seemed like if you like world building, this is a really good one because it just plugs you right into a time and place.
Yeah, atmosphere and setting are so important, so it sounds like it did a great job with that.
Our next review is another 5-star, and this is from Chelsea on Goodreads. She says, "Probably my favorite read of the year so far. I haven't cried this much since reading a book in years. I cannot believe that I have been sleeping on Emma Straub for so long. This was everything, and I have ordered her entire backlist because I need more immediately." So, like we were discussing earlier, this is your first Emma Straub as well. It sounds like this is someone we need to start paying a bit more attention to.
I think I've got something ready for to read in my retirement.
There you go. Yep.
Perfect. I've got another 1-star. This is from JZ on Amazon.
The Jay-Z?
It looks like it.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's not. The title of this review is "This Time Tomorrow, Utter Waste of Time." He says, "About the only thing that stood out in this book of babble was the number of times characters threw up."
Without having read it yet.
Yeah.
I have also a 1-star from Tanya. Blah, blah, loads of crap, blah. The 1-star is for myself for getting through it. So I guess to each his own.
That was an entertaining review. I will be remiss to say that This Time Tomorrow is also the title of a Kinks song. I'm not sure if that's what she got it from. It's a wonderful track.
This time tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor, listen to it. It's a good one. Well, Sarah, we're going to start talking about your retirement side of things now. We have some questions for you. We're sad to see you leave. So I guess my first question is, how long have you been at JDL?
I've been at the Jackson District Library for 24 years. I started out as the youth services coordinator and working out of the Carnegie Library, but helping all the branches with their collections and their programming and really building that support team that we have for the branches for our youth programs.
That's fantastic. You started 24 years ago, so StoryFest had already been happening by then. What was your side of things for that? Did you jump right into that program? Did you take it over? Was it something that was just thrown at you? And then how did you respond to that?
So when I came for my job interview, the end of April that year, I noticed these big yellow banners across Michigan Avenue saying Jackson Story Fest and had a date on it. I'm like, I wonder what that is. When I did get hired, I was told that I would represent the library on the Story Fest committee. Okay. And that it's, at that point, the Story Fest was an independent nonprofit group, and they had a planning committee that, annually would work about 9 months of the year to plan the whole festival and everything. And they had, different pieces of it. It was a lot of retired school teachers were on our committee, and just other interested community members who had learned about storytelling or learned about StoryFest. Sometimes we would have storytellers from the community on our committee too. It was a really good experience, and so we kept connected with the library and StoryFest, and we had been in the planning committee since the first year. We had been represented as one of the community partners for the StoryFest. I was on for a while before I ended up chairing the committee, and then around, year 25, 26, when the committee structure wasn't working anymore and we didn't have support to keep it going, the StoryFest board asked if the library would take it over. So we took it over probably 8 years ago as a library event and continue to present it to the community as a festival where we have the storytelling sessions in the schools for the children. We have some public presentations too for the community, and we had a really great time with that last week. Everything went really well, and we're really excited, and the staff is already starting to talk about what it'll look like next year.
It's fantastic. It's neat that you were able to jump in head first, like you said, but have a little bit of gaining experience before you just took it right on yourself, and then were able to develop to what we see and know it is today. And then, like you said, last week we just did our 35th StoryFest.
Incredible.
It was so much fun. It was great to see the kids light up and then to interact and to have the experience of a storyteller. It is really deeply important, especially when you're able to go visit and see it happening.
And I appreciated the opportunity last week that we were able to honor Lori Lizebnik, who is really the person from the Jackson community who started StoryFest. She had gone to Jonesboro, Tennessee for the National Storytelling Festival that happens every year in October with her cousin. When she came away from that weekend, she's like, how can we do this in Jackson? And she chatted with someone who was running the St. Louis Storytelling Festival, and he kind of laid out a plan as you get a group of people from the community, you bring people together, you plan this, you do this. And she came back, and that's 35 years later where this event is still happening. And I also last week appreciated learning from the storytellers. This is a very unique event. There's no other festivals in Michigan like this. There's very few festivals around the country that are kind of the same way. A festival might be bringing 1 or 2 tellers. We bring in 15 tellers. They get a chance to see each other and be around each other too, which is, good support for their arts because they work in isolation a lot. They appreciate the festival happening the way it is because then it gives them an opportunity to learn from each other also.
It is, thanks, Lori, because definitely that is an amazing thing that we can offer our community. But it's great to know that the ripple effect is it's not just affecting Jackson, it's affecting all of Michigan. And it's great to learn. I wish there was more of it, but it's great to learn that we're the only person offering that and that we're providing that for the community. I'd love to see that grow.
Yeah, I'm excited just to see as it continues to evolve and change, and it doesn't look the same as it looked 35 years ago or 25 years ago. There's always change and improvement, and you have to go with the time. So it's been a festival that's been able to do that.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's incredible. I actually got the opportunity to be a storyteller handler this year. So I got to go with a storyteller into some school sessions and introduce them and hang out with them and eat lunch with them. I grew up in Jackson, so I remember being in school and getting StoryFest and getting to go to the storytellers and have them come to me. So it's kind of come full circle on my end, which is really phenomenal. It feels wonderful to be part of that tradition.
Mm-hmm. And tradition's a great way to put it. sharing stories is such a fundamental part of the human experience. So the fact that we're able to offer that to these kids from a young age it brought me lots of joy to be part of it last week.
And we had a really good evening performance on Friday night with our tellers. One of the tellers, Adam Melema, he does a lot of funny and light and crazy stories. He's very athletic and is a lot of movement in his stories. He also has been in the last few years collecting stories of World War II veterans. He started with a story from his own family, and he's collected other stories. And this year on Friday night, he got to present a story from a Jackson resident, Lee Zimmerman, who he met in coming here to Jackson, and then was able to sit down and learn his story. And he presented his story on Friday night. So that kind of universal storytelling, learning from each other, sharing each other's experiences. It was quite a moving story. And so that's what I've always appreciated about storytelling, because I think it does, you have a story, Carly's got a story. You have stories from the event too, because you get to see kids' reactions and teachers' reactions and parents. And so it really kind of bonds us all. We were talking last week whether we're seeing grandchildren of kids who went to StoryFest, probably being at 35 years out, from those very first years, and could be. So JDL is looking forward to keeping it going.
That's great.
So speaking of successes, Sarah, what are some other successes that you've experienced working for JDL or as a librarian in general? Is there anything that you'd like to chit chat with us about specifically to celebrate?
When I first was hired, there was a perception that people weren't coming to the library as much. So I was really charged with going out in the community, being in the community. I invited myself to a lot of different places and just like, hi, I'm from the library. I just want to come and learn and listen. From that, some of the fun activities or the fun connections, we work really well with our Head Start programs in our community. I was able to begin a collaboration with the Jackson County Youth Center that's still ongoing, and I appreciate all the staff over the years that have stepped in for that program, because it was a little bit of trying to figure it out at the beginning and what it would look like. But we have, connection trying to reach some students who are really challenged and have a lot of barriers to being successful, and hopefully getting them excited about reading or connected with people in the community is going to help them, and as they transition, hopefully back out of that program. I'm at the point, a lot of people say, oh, you used to do story time. I used to bring my kids to your story time. And, I've always appreciated that. But the most recent years, some of the building projects we've been able to accomplish. The first project I got to work on was some of the renovation at the Carnegie Library of the media room and that lower level and the entryway. Then we did the Meyer branch expansion was a big project. More recently, our Brooklyn branch expansion, the addition of our bookmobile. Those different projects are a lot of fun. And then seeing people in the spaces using the different resources we have is always a good thing. I'm really excited to see the Spring Arbor branch get finished right now. We're moving into a different facility. It won't probably be quite open before I retire, but it's getting really close. It will be exciting to see how that branch gets used too.
It's great to hear all these experiences, because it's nice to know that you not only helped provide the tone for JDL, but the look of things as well. I love that, like you're saying, all the renovations of the branches, it's been a transformative for JDL. I know people come up to our facilities and they're blown away by what we can offer and what they thought a library was, and then they come and experience it and what they've learned a library is and what the library can offer.
We're actually recording in a room that was created during one of those branch expansions. So we're recording in the digital studio at the Meyer branch. This studio space is open to patrons for use. And so this was one of the things that was done during your time here.
I've been fortunate enough to join programs like the Jackson County Youth Center program that we have, or to jump in on like little committees and stuff. And I can't tell you how many times people go, oh, so Sara, right? Sara Tackett. She started this. That she did this, she did that. And the respect and how thankful people are is shown through so many experiences I've had towards what you've offered. So I know the community is very grateful.
Well, I have, since the announcement of my retirement too, I've had a lot of community members reaching out to me, and it's really touched my heart that people think of me and the work we've done together at the library, because this is really all about our team here. I don't, can be out there and do things, but really the work gets done by everybody. So I appreciate the support that the community has given us over the years, but then also the support the staff gives each other and all the work that we do for the community together. That's
wonderful. Yeah, it's a great way to put it. We did talk about you joining JDL and then your time getting started in youth services and then StoryFest, but where has your growth been since then? What has your path looked like?
So about 11 years ago, I moved into the assistant director position and worked under the previous director, Ishvar, and kind of learned more of the administrative side and the business side of the library. We're an independent municipal body. We have our own staff. We have our own funding. We are a business. So that's been really interesting learning that side of it. So appreciated the opportunity to do that under the previous director. And now I'm appreciated the support that the board gives all of us and gave me in doing the work we've done to do the fun things, the good projects, but then also, using our tax dollar as well to support the library and give back to the community. I'm looking forward now to Liz Breed, the current assistant director, has been selected to jump in to be the next director at JDL, and working with Liz right now to make the transition as seamless as we can, and then looking forward to the new vision for the future. JDL will continue to do great things and be there for the community and connect with people in different ways.
I know we've got lots of really well thought out projects that are, slowly coming to fruition, whether that's branch renovations or things we want to start offering our community. And I'm really excited for those to roll out. But in the future, what sort of things would you like to see the library offer or continue to aim for?
I think, continuing to listen and be out in our community, I think is important to knowing what we can offer or what we should offer. The last few years, it's been what are the barriers to people using the library? It started a few years ago with kids who couldn't get library cards easily. It was a big struggle to get a library card. And, we had a staff committee came together. They did some kind of what could be a best practice here and how could we make that work? And that's our current practice where, if a kid comes into a library, they can get a card and they can transition that at any time with their parent's signature, but they can at least check out a couple items. They can get on the internet. They can use the library. So kind of taking those barriers down to service, continuing that. We went fine free. So those kind of financial barriers, hopefully we're not going to continue for many of our community members so that the library won't be not accessible to them. I think that continual listening to the community and learning from the community about what would be the best thing to offer would be important for the future.
That's perfect. Always finding new opportunities or way that we can support our community. That's great.
Do you have any plans for your retirement? What are you looking forward to most to doing? What are you excited for in the coming years for yourself?
Well, in the last 6 years since I became the library director, I have gained 6 grandchildren.
Congratulations.
Wow, congratulations.
So would like to have a little more time to kind of be part of their lives and be more involved. And the 7th child is on their way next year. We learned that recently. So
it's wonderful.
We'll be having a lot of fun with our grandkids and our kids. We are looking to travel. My husband and I go to Boston a lot because one of our daughters lives there, and then we try to do other side trips and see family members, so kind of being able to have time to do that. So I think that's a big piece. I am the traditional librarian knitter, so I have a whole closet full of yarn that is calling me. I put myself on a do not buy more yarn right now.
That's because a tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's so pretty and soft, but so I have a lot of ideas for that time. We're planning to stay in the community right now and continue to be part of the Jackson community, and don't know exactly, but I'm sure I'll engage in something else, but trying to be open to that right now and kind of just listen and learn things about the community I don't know. I've been kind of, as I in some of the committee work and the community work I do now, I just keep listening to like, where is a need? Maybe there is a place to step into something, but I don't know what it is yet.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you're able to take the time to yourself, do the things that you're looking to do, but you also are still just plugged in as you always have been and are focused on what the community wants. It speaks volumes of the type of person you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So from everything you're telling us, we should expect postcards in the mail, maybe some knitted socks, and then maybe you coming out to story time with the grandkids.
Yep, coming to Storyfest.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Yes. Sneaking into Storyfest.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sarah. We really appreciate you coming in, and just have a wonderful retirement.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for working for JDL. Appreciate the work you guys do here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks for listening. Feel free to email us at podcast@myjdl.com with any thoughts you have about our reading from today, any materials you think we should touch on in future episodes, or any questions you may have about library materials, events, or services. Any views or opinions expressed by the hosts or their guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of the Jackson District Library as a whole. This podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only.